Hello and welcome back to Layman's Perspective, the show where I almost die on the highway trying to make these videos for you guys. Because that actually is what happened last night.
Drama.
I almost died several times trying to get up here. We're coming to you from Syracuse with a couple of lads.
I'm a lad.
A couple of laymans here.
I'm the person from the phone call.
We've got one Nick Jabali, one Matthew Pelosi,
How we doing?
and another Matthew Schlegel.
Hello.
But you can call us Marty.
Please.
Collectively. They're both called Marty. So we're going to do, obviously I've done episodes breaking down all the WandaVision episodes, but we're going to do the whole series recap today for you guys. So WandaVision is a television show
That we all watched.
that people watched.
Can confirm that.
That's it, review's done. We can go.
Alright, cool. That's
All
fun.
set?
That's a wrap.
All right, now. Let's talk about this. So I think the first place to start that is the most logical. What is our favorite sitcom era that they adapted? Because that was the whole crux of the show.
Uh-huh.
I've been thinking about it. I really think my favorite was the first one, the Dick Van Dyke Show.
I agree. Or the second one. The second intro was my favorite.
That was I Dream of Jeannie.
Yeah.
I think my favorite intro was the Malcolm in the Middle-esque one.
Uh-huh.
I got that immediately.
But my
Thank you.
favorite era is either the first one, and I don't want to be basic and say the new one, Modern Family, just because that's like when we grew up, but I really did like it a lot.
I don't think that makes you basic.
I think there was we kind of thought there was one scene that was like paid homage to Curb.
And
The scene where
Huh.
where Darcy and Vision are at the circus,
Yeah.
and then just the way like the cameras.
and there's just I picked up on it, and I haven't seen it anywhere else, so maybe I'm kind of second guessing myself a little bit, but it's just kind of like the quick like trumpet music, and they're kind of
there
like
was
awkwardly
trumpet music,
like running
her.
away. And I
The
think
guy
it
was chasing the truck, and it was like.
Yeah, but for me, I also like the Modern Family one specifically because of how well Elizabeth Olsen did Claire Dunphy. I mean, that was perfect, and she's just freaking out, and the world's falling apart.
Well, they were both Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany.
Amazing.
I think they deserve
Oh,
it.
they're incredible.
Yeah.
You don't just even think about the first episode. You don't just do a Dick Van Dyke impression.
Right.
Like that kind of acting doesn't exist anymore. Like they consulted with Dick Van Dyke, and he probably spent a good chunk of time learning how to be like. Like they both deserve Emmys.
And also, just beyond
I agree.
anything from the whole sitcom thing that they were doing for the show, after episode 8, we see why the Dick Van Dyke Show specifically resonates with Wanda the way it does.
Because
And
it's her favorite.
Since I've seen that one, I have actually not gone back and watched episodes 1 and 2, and I'm looking forward to doing that just because it adds a whole nother wrinkle. The first time we're watching it, we didn't quite really know what was going on.
Oh,
And I would love to
100%.
go back and see and just know that it's like coming from straight from Wanda's grief and
Yes.
why it's specifically that show and why it's specifically sitcoms, which
Mhm.
was a question we were asking. And I thought it was just a really... the show took an emotional turn that I wasn't expecting,
Yeah.
and I thought the sitcoms were just kind of a unique way to make a cool show. But as it turns out, there's a very strong significance as to why it is sitcoms that she's living in.
I think that that's a good point. Because now if you go back and rewatch that show, you're rewatching it with an entirely different perspective. You can never watch that show for the first time again.
Yeah.
Because now, that first episode, before we knew anything that was going on, I was like, okay, this is weird, but this is like nice and cozy. And
Right.
it's like, oh, it's the 50s.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to be watching this, I'm like, oh, this is sad.
Like
Yeah.
When
for
are we going
me,
to see Dead Vision?
When are we going to...
I know some of you, like you
Oh,
guys,
no.
you did your research before like going
It's a
into.
deep cut on Dan.
You guys did your research going into the show, and you also had like background knowledge of all like your Marvel knowledge,
Yep.
MCU. But I went into it cold turkey, and the first episode, I like enjoy. So I didn't know what to expect at all. And the first episode, I enjoyed it because I guess I would like. I don't know if I've ever watched the Dick Van Dyke Show, but I don't know, black and white sitcoms. I enjoy them,
Mm.
and I enjoyed the first episode. But then after it, I was like, yeah, that was good. But this is a superhero. This is supposed to be about a superhero.
Right.
This isn't really what I want.
I think that's the take that a lot of people had after
Yeah.
the first 2 episodes, where I agree, like a little weird, but they nailed the black and white sitcoms and the corniness to it. And it was really, really enjoyable.
That's why I think it was a good idea, too, to release the two 50s, 60s black and white
Yeah.
episodes. I think that would have been a tough wait to do the 20-minute 50s a week and then the 20-minute 60s.
Good point.
That's true.
That would have been
Those two
10
really-
weeks, too,
yeah.
when we've been doing this.
Those two really blended into each other well.
I also think what you're saying, like, that's probably why I think this is the most unique. I would have given most unique Marvel property before this probably to Ragnarok,
Yeah.
but I would say that this takes the cake now.
Easily.
Yeah.
This is just
No doubt.
utterly different than anything that they've done before.
Yeah.
And I also love that they did, on multiple rewatches of each episode and a little bit of background research, you even see that they, the crew that was filming each of the episodes was wearing period correct,
Right.
camera crew, uniforms.
Yeah.
The cameras that they used, they filmed on VHS for the 90s episode. They were filming with the correct camera technology, they didn't have to do any of that. All the practical effects of things
They color
floating.
graded
and
the sets.
they color graded the sets, and Vision phasing and disguising himself looks different in each show.
Yeah.
They didn't have to do it. They had a live studio audience, but they did that because that little extra 1% is what made it so good.
That's why we love it.
Yep.
We never quite. There wasn't really a set answer to why we were getting the flashes of red in the black and white, right?
Well, that was. Well,
Yeah.
I think those were twofold. One, because red is her,
I
Yeah,
thought it's just
yeah.
like a tease to the red of her magic,
The chaos
what's
magic.
really
Right.
running this whole world. Yeah,
But some of them were topical. Like the blinking red dot in the first commercial was the Stark missile.
Mhm.
The toaster was the missile.
maybe even Dottie cutting her hand too with the blood. It's it's a sitcom, but this is showing hey, these people are actually getting hurt here and they're suffering here.
I didn't even talk about this, especially the first episode. That scene with Mr. and Mrs. Hart.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, everyone's like, okay, this is the Dick Van Dyke Show. But I didn't talk about this at all in my first review. That drifted perfectly into the Twilight Zone.
And any more Kitty Foreman we can get, Deborah Jo Rupp. I mean,
Yes.
She's great for the sitcoms and everything.
So I think that this also, this was well-needed development for Wanda and Vision, both separately and as a couple. I don't really think that I bought their relationship before this,
Yes.
because it was all like, oh, we've been dating in secret off camera,
Right,
and we're all
it was
loving
so
it.
off screen, which was the problem for me.
And a comic book fan knows that they're together.
Mhm.
So that was kind of enough. But this was better because we got to see it. We weren't just told, "Oh no, we've been having sex off camera this entire time." Side note:
Robot.
robot,
Vibranium.
vibranium.
RoboCop.
Hey,
Can we talk about this on camera? Is this allowed to the children watching my videos? I'm so sorry.
You're gonna need to learn one day.
One day.
So why not learn from us?
So when a mommy Vision and a daddy Vision love each other very much, what I'm nervous about though is that now they can't backpedal. If we get let's say 4 years from now, we get Avengers. What is this 5? This would be.
yeah.
We can't. Hush now. You can't go back to having Vision do nothing and having Wanda just shooting red snowballs.
Well, that's also, I think that
That's yeah.
my big thing now is with how powerful we have seen Wanda become from this show. I think any kind of Avengers type threat where she's the good guy, I just can't imagine there's something where her and the rest of the Avengers can't defeat someone.
Yeah.
I almost feel like with her and her powers now, the best story that could come of it is she becomes the bad guy, because it's almost like she alone could take down anybody who's threatening the Avengers. Maybe her
Yes.
Strange. She is the biggest threat to them right now, I think, hands down. Obviously, we don't know what big villains
Monica-
are coming, but
Didn't Monica say she could have taken Thanos herself, or am I?
well, she could have,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
They said that. I was thinking about that. In Endgame, yes, she could have solo bashed Thanos, but what no one talks about is that was also Thanos with no Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very good point, actually.
Iron Man, Thor, and Doctor Strange, they didn't win, but they both squared off.
And if you count when Cap's got Mjolnir, he
Yes.
smacked him around to get him out.
They
too.
squared off with Infinity War Thanos, while he had
okay,
three of the
okay.
stones in his glove.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like another, we do have to acknowledge. I
Mhm.
still give Tony and Doctor Strange props for lasting as long as they did
Mhm.
when he was firing
With a gauntlet. Yeah,
with a
that's-
gauntlet.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some mismanaged expectations and theories.
Mephisto.
All right, because obviously next week we're going to be going into Mephisto and the Winter Mephisto.
Let's go.
So yes, let's talk about this. So, and I said this in my last episode. I'm going to start off by saying I don't think that it's any director or producer's job to placate the desires of a fan base.
I think.
Because that's a textbook. That's what happened with Star Wars, and we all saw how that ended.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna edit in a picture of a but. But they clearly
Jesus.
they clearly also knew what they were doing.
Mhm.
They knew because again, if you go back, what was that? What episode did Evan Peters show up in?
5.
I was gonna say 4, but we'll go with
5
5.
before. I think 5. 4 was the first one where we saw like the shield behind the scenes. I think it was the end of 5.
If you put on the narrated subtitles for that scene, it says Wanda looks at the version of Pietro from the X-Men films. So this wasn't just we didn't know that you guys were going to think that. No, they did.
we were supposed to think that.
We were supposed to think that.
Yeah.
But he was a dick joke.
I could talk about this for actually hours, and I have since it's ended, and it's a shame because I think I'm kind of portraying the idea that I was unsatisfied by the finale. I loved it. Everything about WandaVision I've just loved.
Right.
I did have a big problem with what they did with Quicksilver, and I understand the meta joke, and I think that different time and place the meta joke would play really well, and it's a nice way to kind of nod to the Fox X-Men films without having to bring them in entirely. The only thing, considering that it's Quicksilver, who's one of my favorite X-Men's, if not outside of the Wolverine, probably my favorite.
Yep.
But more than anything, that we know WandaVision is tying directly into Doctor Strange and the multiverse of madness.
Yep.
So we know mutants are coming.
Yep.
That Disney just spent $70 million to get the rights of the X-Men mutants.
Yep.
And we know that the multiverse is coming. And not only that, but Wanda plays a central role in that. And that WandaVision would tie, like I said, directly into that. I was waiting months ago. We talked about this in the fall. There were rumors that Evan Peters could be appearing. And I was saying, if this is what I think it is, this is going to be the craziest thing ever. I'm going to lose my mind.
Yep.
When he showed up at the door, I certainly did lose my mind.
I rustled my jimmies.
And what I was saying is, if they wanted to do the Ralph Boner joke, which I didn't like, but if that's really what they were set on doing, that's fine. You can do that. But the fact of the matter is, he's in the Halloween episode 6 for the whole thing, and we get no real answers as to who or what's going on. He's not in 7, except for the post-credit scene, which is a brief, very ominous cliffhanger thing.
Yeah.
Then not in 8 at all. So he's really just like cliffhanger, hyped up. We're waiting to see what's going on. We're going to the finale without knowing anything about him. I was certain that just meant it had to be a big reveal, and that I thought there was no way they could have just like thrown it aside with how much it was building to the finale. I think the Ralph Boner thing, if that's what they wanted to do, they could have done in episode 7 or 8, and maybe not hold out to a finale that was rushed and crowded a little bit. I would have liked to see a lot.
A tiny bit.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that I can't criticize the show at all because of how much I loved it and how invested I was in it the whole time.
Right.
And I'm not as upset as you guys that
It
Evan
wasn't
Peters.
actually Quicksilver.
I'm not upset. I'm
Broken.
broken.
Yeah,
I'm shattered.
I didn't watch those X-Men, and I kind of was joking with Marty the whole time. I kept saying, like, Marty, I just kind of think, like,
And
maybe they didn't, maybe, what's his name? ATG?
Aaron Taylor Johnson, yeah.
Maybe, I mean, you guys might know better than me, maybe they just couldn't get him signed.
Yeah,
and they just were like, okay, let's get this guy.
I would love to hear,
Yeah, but then also, just all the theories and mismanaged theories as a whole, it was a little rushed. Like, there was just because I felt like they spent, 7, maybe even 8 at least 6 or 7 episodes
Yeah.
building up, and there's so many questions. And then you go into a next episode and you want answers, and there's more questions.
Yeah, you get more.
And you keep getting more questions, and so you have so many questions and so many things to be answered, and so many theories. And then like the last episode, it wasn't bad, but it was just like they had to do those things so they could wrap it up in a way that makes sense.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering now. So the Evan Peters thing, that was just we were wrong, right? I'm wondering. Okay, I'm gonna get off the Mephisto train because I don't want to keep being let down. But the skeptic in me wonders if we just found a lot of those Easter eggs too early.
Yeah.
Maybe Mephisto is coming, just not now.
Season 1.
And like when,
Yes.
like
Right,
when
I thought
has
it was just
Marvel?
one season.
No,
No, well, I'm saying in
Hopefully.
in Doctor Strange or whatever, or some other movie.
Yeah,
maybe
look
that's
at
gonna
like
be.
we got to look at WandaVision not as a TV show, just really it's just another
MCU.
movie in the MCU,
Yes.
basically.
Yes.
And I think that's an interesting point because when has a Marvel villain, with the exception of like the one, standalone, whoever it may be, Hela or whatever, when is a villain like hyped up and introduced all in one movie? With Thanos and all these big villains, it's like
Thanos
a long...
took 10 years.
Yeah. And I'm not saying Mephisto's the next Thanos, but a lot of times,
Someone has to be.
if it's going to be a powerful villain like this, just kind of showing up right away is maybe not the best way to tell that story.
I personally was rooting for Ultron showing up.
I
in
thought
this.
White Vision was going to have the James Spader voice.
I did.
I really did.
I looked it up, and I said this in last week's review. The reason that his voice sounded weird, if you listen closely, was James Spader's voice overlaid with Paul Bettany's.
What?
Are you asking or are you saying...
I'm saying I looked in the list.
Okay,
He's credited only as a voice actor.
That would
Wow.
be awesome.
Yeah,
So that was cool. I was
Very
just...
cool.
I would have loved... Because he's never... In the comics, he's never a one and done. I want to believe that we're going to see him again.
And they do such a good job of finding ways to bring these people back, like
Yep.
Red Skull or whoever it may be. Like
Uh-huh.
he doesn't need to be the central villain, but there could be a role for him to play and all this. Who knows?
He knows. I predicted years before Infinity War that Red Skull wasn't dead.
Mhm.
You can confirm.
Mm-hmm. And we walk into the theater for Infinity War, and he's like, "Remember what I said?"
Everyone thought I was crazy, and then we saw that, and I what is it? I lost my spaghetti. Is that the term?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
We'll go with that. Yeah. So there's a couple things missing, but the one thing that stuck out for me now is that the finale gave me For the Dark World problems, and I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. Okay, because
That's a serious accusation.
that is a serious accusation. I'm going to explain myself. So what I mean by that is that took place, or for that matter, Iron Man 3 or Winter Soldier vibes. In that,
Even some of the showrunners said like they were doing an Iron Man 3 type thing.
Well, yeah,
because-
I want to talk about that.
what I mean by
After.
that is that those movies took place after the first Avengers. And we're watching these problems unfold now, where we've seen the heroes meet other heroes. Okay, Agatha said, so Agatha's not as powerful as Wanda, and presumably also not as powerful as Doctor
You would
Strange.
assume, yes.
So if she could
Or
sense,
even Wong, for that matter.
exactly, if she could sense the hex, where the hell was Doctor Strange
Mhm.
or Wong or anyone? Like, I think we're past the point now where it's like, oh, we're gonna have this nice little show about Wanda and Vision, and none of the other heroes are gonna be in it, and because that makes the universe seem
Far away.
yes.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I loved when Doctor Strange showed up in Thor. It didn't have to be the
Uh-huh.
whole movie. It was just this little bit, like, okay, yeah, these heroes interact with each other, this universe is complex. It just made it seem like this was happening on its own Bermuda Triangle island in the middle of nowhere.
Or even, like, if you think in Far From Home, it's just Spider-Man, but there's a point where he's talking to Fury, and
Yep.
he asks about Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange,
Yep.
unavailable, off-world, like, sure, they're not in it, but it's just addressing us as a viewer, being like, where are these other
Say
people?
something.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange is on vacation. He's
Yeah.
getting a colonoscopy. Say anything. It doesn't, like, you know?
Even before like the MCU, like they started coming out with the movies, even in the old like Marvel movies, I know they technically in those universes there wasn't other superheroes, But I always used to think as a little kid, like, when I'm watching Spider-Man, like, where's the Hulk? Why can't he help now?
Yes!
Yeah.
And now that we're in the MCU, and it's like, you know that they're in this universe, you can't just ignore them.
Yes.
Like, they're there.
Yes.
No,
And what-
I think that it's okay because why does he have to come and help Wanda necessarily? Why? What if he saw the future, like how he knew how to defeat Thanos?
That's a good point.
You know, what if he knew that
And
this
just
was
that
her?
she needed to be
destiny.
forged as the Scarlet Witch, like
Yeah.
undisturbed on her own. It was just a part of the magical process of the MCU that he knows the lore of or whatever.
Yeah.
it might
Now, the other thing that this makes me think of, okay, is they really did, if you really think about it, they did Vision dirty. Okay. How did Sword, and so that Sword took Vision's body in the 5 years between Infinity War and Endgame, okay, where Cap, Natasha, the Hulk, Captain Marvel, why did no one take his body?
be. That's the thing.
They
And
kind of
it-
like did him dirty that way.
It's not
You know,
the first
like
time.
you're
and
right.
It was obviously like it was a product. The question to me is, so Wanda got snapped. I think the question would be, who gets it?
How did
And
they
I
even
thought-
get it out of Wakanda?
But after Infinity War, I thought maybe,
Hmm.
Tony or Bruce, they're the ones who basically built
Created
him,
him,
like,
yeah.
with the exception of Ultron's role. But, like, I just find, that's definitely, I hope that they address that. I hope it wasn't just a matter of S.H.I.E.L.D. saying, this is a government property, this is ours. I hope that, especially it was in Wakanda, too.
Yes, how
they
how
don't
they do
let
that?
people just take their vibranium. That's kind of their thing.
Yes, yes.
It's kind of,
Yeah.
All right, so now, what does this mean for the future of the MCU going forward? Right? The showrunners like to think of this as a stepping off point, right? So, I think that this could lead into a couple of things. Right immediately in front of WandaVision. Now, I'd be surprised if Falcon and the Winter Soldier ties into this at all. I think it's going to be its own thing. However, I do think that this could have some intersection with Loki.
I agree, 100%.
Because if we remember that commercial from episode 7, the Nexus commercial,
yeah.
the Nexus of all realities is Wanda. A Nexus beings in the comics are monitored by the TVA, which is going to be the primary group,
The Owen Wilson led.
the Owen Wilson-led group
Yeah.
in Loki.
Sweet.
And there's also, I don't know how much merit there is to this, but there is apparently in one of the trailers, there's a stained glass thing
Oh, there is.
with there's like, is this Mephisto in
Yep.
the background? So
Yep.
like, I don't know how. I think that somehow though Loki's going to be implicated in that. I would think that What If
Mhm.
could also do that. We've seen some trailers now of Doctor Strange fighting an alternate universe Doctor Strange. Is that going to then... Where I think this is obviously going is Doctor Strange 2.
And that's the big one. And I was actually, disappointed is the wrong word. I just expected more of a kind of lead-in to Doctor Strange. Just the way I watched the Disney, like the Investor Day announcement of WandaVision from a few years ago, and then same with Multiverse of Madness, and Feige was like clear as day. Like, this is very much bridging right into Multiverse of Madness, and
Yeah.
will also... We haven't talked about this yet, but Multiverse of Madness, WandaVision also has ties to Spider-Man 3. We don't know what that means, but
Okay. You know what?
Is
Before we...
Elizabeth Olsen casted in Spider-Man 3?
Someone look that up.
she's not. But
Look it up.
she said in an interview, which I think is basically confirming. She said, "I assume I'll be in it."
Okay.
So
I think
Let's see.
I need... Okay. We could talk about Spider-Man.
the Google
Yeah, it
thing,
says she thinks she'll pop up in Spider-Man 3.
We...
Marvel blog Elizabeth
alongside
Olsen
Tobey
2
Maguire
appear.
and
We don't
Hugh
know...
Jackman, obviously.
We don't know what this is going to do. We don't know what this is going to mean for
As
the
a dick
future
joke.
as a dick
Yeah.
joke. Hugh Jackman's penis.
If they, Feige,
I'm sorry,
if you turn-
PP.
Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in any way into a dick joke,
You're done.
that's the end.
You get
Someone
one.
with
Fool
the
me
fishes.
once, shame on me. Fool me twice,
Nope.
PP.
Tobey Maguire will be bend over in Spider-Man 3. That will be his name.
So, okay, we don't know what the future of the character of Spider-Man is going to be after this, okay? I need... Everybody loves... Everyone's like, Tom Holland Spider-Man is the best Spider-Man, okay? Here's the thing. I think Tom Holland Spider-Man... We're going to go off on a Spider-Man tangent here for a little bit. I think Tom Holland Spider-Man has had always the best potential
Mhm.
to be the best Spider-Man. But there's just one simple thing I need in my Spider-Man movies that Homecoming and Far From Home has not given me.
What's that?
I need at least 20 minutes of
Rope
screen
swinging.
time devoted to Spider-Man swinging around
knew
in
it.
specifically
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say
in
that.
Lower Manhattan.
Couldn't agree.
Not
more.
in Queens,
Yeah.
not in Brooklyn, not in London, okay? Manhattan.
Yep.
I need to see him scaling a building. I'm gonna intercut some scenes of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield doing this better, okay? I can make my
Fixing
peace.
MJ upside down.
Yes, I can make my peace with Tony giving him the suit. I have a.
The CGI suits.
I can make my
thing.
peace with the CGI suit. I can make my peace with all these things. Give me 20 minutes of Tom Holland swinging around Manhattan. That's all I want,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Best Spider-Man ever. If you give me
Yeah.
that.
The only thing that he's not like I hate to say that he's the better Spider-Man because I love Tobey Maguire.
We love.
I-
Well, let's go on record and say we love all three of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly
Right.
do.
I don't like the Garfield movies, but I like Garfield.
I enjoyed them honestly.
Battle it out in the comments. Kill one another over which Spider-Man
Yeah,
is the best Spider-Man.
But Tom Holland obviously has the best potential because he's in the MCU
Yes.
with all of these other heroes, and he portrays like the kid Spider-Man.
Yes.
the
He's not a
best.
Which is
he's not a
actually-
38-year-old man
Yeah,
playing a
exactly.
kid. Yes.
Yeah, and they
It's
just
more
announced
believable.
that this is just something I saw recently. I don't know that it's official yet, but the direction they said Marvel wants to move in is have Tom Holland said his Spider-Man future. He's probably going to keep doing it, but he's going to take a break for a little while after this movie. This is his last contract movie.
Yeah.
That they're going to try and do a Peter Parker is the older college Spider-Man, like he goes off to school. But in the city, there's a younger Miles Morales who could be played by someone.
I would
think that would
love
be
that.
cool. Yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I think even the voice actor that played Miles in Spider-Verse looks the part.
The good pick I like is I'm forgetting his
Look him
name.
up.
The kid from Stranger Things. Is it Lucas?
Oh,
Yeah, I
Big
think
Knicks fan.
Yeah, I think he'd be great for that.
wow, that
Yeah.
would be great.
Yeah, and he wore the Spider-Man. Did he do any promotion for Spider-Man? Or am
I think he
completely making it up?
did.
He wore the Spider-Man Jordan 1s. I remember. Hold on. What's his
To the
name?
premiere sometime?
Let's see.
That would be great. I would love that.
Lucas Sinclair is his, Caleb McLaughlin.
Caleb McLaughlin. Okay, Kevin Feige, make it happen. Caleb McLaughlin, we want him as Miles Morales.
And we also want Jason Statham as the Thing.
Oh, that'd be perfect. Oh my god.
But
Oh,
I
I'm going to
digress.
say right now. Okay, ready? If we're talking about future casting, John Krasinski is Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Is that a mom?
My
Emily
only-
Blunt as the Invisible
That's
Woman.
almost too perfect. though, I feel like.
You can't not do that.
Yeah.
That would be perfect. I love it.
Yep.
Yep. Get
It'll-
it real up in there. Yep.
The other theory I saw, because
I
obviously
don't even need to edit a picture of that in. You just showed the camera.
Spider-Man rights are kind of tricky with Marvel and Sony. They're on good terms right now, kind of sharing the character.
Well, because they know that we'll all freak out if they
Yeah.
don't.
But here's the plan I saw. I think a lot of people wouldn't like it, but I think it could be kind of interesting. Obviously, Sony is building their Sonyverse right now. There's Venom, Morbius is coming, and we
Morbius.
see Vultures in Morbius.
Did we? Well, oh, we did see
Yeah,
that.
at
That's
the end of the
right.
trailer, that's a big link right there.
That is a big link.
And then Let There Be Carnage is coming. That could be cool. And I'm sure they have a bunch of other projects planned out. I saw a theory that what they want to do is establish a ton of... Because Spider-Man has some of the best villains in any comic book. Spider-Man and Batman, I think, are the two best.
Yep.
And
Yep.
they're trying to establish in the Sony world a bunch of villains. Morbius, Venom, Vulture, Carnage, whoever it may be.
Green Goblin we could have again.
And, we
Doc
know that
Ock.
Alfred Molina is casted in Spider-Man 3 as Doc Ock somehow. Jamie Foxx
As
is
Electro.
somehow. So I don't know what that could mean, but
Because, okay, naturally, it's like, okay, they're doing multiverse. It's going to be them from different universes. But they also did cast
Evan Peters.
J.K. Simmons as just another J. Jonah
Yeah.
Jameson, as like a nod for us.
Mm-hmm.
So, you were saying this before, I want to temper my expectations now. Because we all expect Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire to show up.
Oh, please.
But let's, yes, obviously, if that happens, that's going to be the most amazing cinematic moment of our young
If I
hot
see
lives.
Tobey Maguire coming into a corny entrance with a corny joke, I will love it.
Pizza time.
Pizza time.
Yeah.
like Tom
Gonna cry?
Holland's
I had
getting
to pee on
choked
a
down,
little
and he
stick to
just
get this.
comes in swinging on a web. It's just like pizza
Yeah.
time, and he
No, I
kicks the Joe novel.
That's
Yeah.
perfect.
But
But
Gonna cry?
we need to be prepared that might not be what they do.
Yeah.
Right now, regardless of how irrational or ill-advised this may be, I'm still hoping and thinking that they're going to be included in some capacity. But I think it's more Multiverse of Madness that we would see them, and it's because of A, the multiverse, but B, that it's directed by Sam Raimi, who obviously did the Toby trilogy.
Oh my God, that's
and that's
perfect.
like his guy.
That's his baby.
So
that
maybe
character.
like a post-credit scene of Spider-Man 3 is like Andrew and
Just-
Toby swinging in.
just
and then,
a nibble.
yeah.
Because we're not going to get, I think what we're getting, Spider-Man 3 in December, and Doctor Strange 2 isn't until this time next year.
March
Oh,
25th,
God.
2022.
So we got a long way to go.
I know we're talking about like lowering our expectations, but I'm just imagining like us seeing another Spider-Man, and then the mask comes off, and it's just Toby.
People would
Oh my God.
people would rip cinema chairs out of the floor, and I would be one of them. Okay, that would be insane, but we need to be prepared.
Yeah, we're doing it again.
We're doing it again. We need to be prepared that might not happen.
And we're still 9 months out.
You didn't
Okay.
see that coming?
You did. But also, Kevin Feige, if you're listening, if you're one of my 40 subscribers, make this happen, please.
What's up, Kevin?
Kevin.
Hi,
Huge fan.
Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
Okay, now the other thing for the future of the MCU that we need to talk about is Billy and Tommy.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Young Avengers.
Young
Question mark?
Avengers.
Or are we doing it again?
No, I think that's.
I think that post-credit scene confirmed we're not done with that.
We're not done with them. She's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
start ripping holes. This
Yeah,
is
no
what
way.
this is what Doctor Strange 2 is gonna be. In my humble layman's perspective. Aha.
Oh.
Ah.
Okay, she's gonna start ripping holes because in the comics, when events similar to the show unfold, essentially, while their bodies are not real, Billy and Tommy's souls are real, and they find new carriers in real human babies at the moment of their conception, and then they're all reunited later in their lives. So, the concept exists. She's just gonna go ripping through the multiverse, trying to find Billy and Tommy, and she's either going to directly cause problems in the multiverse of madness, or she's gonna let the real villain of the future of the MCU out in some capacity.
I hope not.
And I'm fine with either one.
Yeah.
Because that's another. I mean, that's where the Mephisto theories really stem from. There's been so many different versions of Billy and Tommy in the comics.
Yep.
Slash, just like one of the big ones that I looked at House of M before this came out, just because I was very interested in a lot of YouTube and Reddit, and that was the big thing that one of the versions of Billy and Tommy was actually pieces of Mephisto's soul.
Yep.
And so there's just a lot of dark shit tied with that.
Yes.
Basically.
And, I would love to see an adult Wiccan. That's who Billy's character is, because he then becomes even more powerful than Wanda. In an alternate Marvel future, he becomes the Sorcerer Supreme after Doctor Strange.
I actually didn't know that.
He pals around with Loki in some issues because they're all using magic. So I would love to see that. And I'm already starting to see some rumors now that they're not going to recast them as adults. They're just going to let them grow
I like that.
That's
into
cool.
their role. I would love that.
Yeah.
Because we've seen that happen. The Stranger Things kids, we've
Yeah.
seen grow into their
Yeah.
roles a little bit. I think that all worked on us.
Yeah.
So I like these two kids. I'd love to see them grow into their respective roles.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, so now it's starting
years
to...
out, huh?
Yeah. It's starting to come together. We have them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, here's
Oh,
I'm
God.
gonna edit that in right here. With the two of them, we have Clint's daughter,
Yeah.
Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop.
Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel's coming out soon. We have Scott's daughter, Cassie.
Tony's daughter.
Tony's daughter,
Morgan.
Morgan.
And also, not his daughter, but there's the other thing, Iron Heart, coming out. I don't know a lot about it, but someone who basically built her own suit.
Yes,
And,
yes. Depending on how old they want to make Miles,
Yeah.
they could fold him into the Young
That'd be
Avengers.
cool.
That'd be cool. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And another reason why it would be like a missed opportunity for them to just that to be the end of Billy and Wiccan is because I think you touched on it in one of your videos, if I'm not mistaken. Billy or one of them grows up to be he ends up being the first like LGBTQ.
Yes.
And
Billy does.
Yeah,
Hulkling, I
it's
believe.
obvious
Yes.
that we're gonna need that inclusiveness in Marvel.
Because
and-
they don't really
Yeah,
have
it's
that.
gonna
they
come.
definitely don't.
and there it is. Like,
Not
makes
only
sense.
not only is he one of the only ones, he's also comic book was by far the most popular gay superhero. Like people love him. DeviantArt is overflowing with fan art of him. Him and Hulkling.
Yeah.
You're correct, Schlegel. Which is essentially, if I remember correctly, Skrull can either shapeshift or permanently adopt the powers. They're secondary, so they can shapeshift to look like anyone, or they can adopt the powers of someone, but they look like Skrull. And so Hulkling is a character who decided to mimic Hulk's powers, so he looks like a Skrull and he's like super strong. He's also gay, and they're very popular comic book couple. So that's a very good point because we don't.
Except for, is it Anthony Russo in the...
Anthony Russo's gay.
Yeah,
In Endgame.
so we got that.
We're starting to get some equal footing with gender inclusivity, but
Yeah.
not
and
orient-
race, but we've had that.
We're getting there.
orientation is a little lacking. So I definitely agree that he would be very important for that. I think also Tommy is bi.
I don't know. Well, that's a whole other thing about Tommy is if they won't give us Aaron Taylor Johnson, they won't give us Evan Peters Quicksilver. Just give me
Tommy
speed.
looks like
Give me
Tommy has a
speed.
lot of potential.
And the fact
I
that
like
he
that
did,
kid a
the
lot.
fact I think it actually had to have been a little hat tip to, ironically, to Quicksilver, the Days of Future Past kitchen scene where he runs around, steals the cop's hat.
Yep.
puts it on, and
100%.
Tommy does that. Oh, I was like, oh, it hurts. But,
It hurts.
you know.
It's too close.
Yeah.
The last thing that I want to talk about, we're talking about the future. What the hell is White Vision doing now?
Yeah.
Okay, because
Discovering the world.
I was confused. I saw a lot of other people confused. Okay, and again, I talked about this before. Like, the show, that scene in the final episode very clearly wanted us to feel like we were watching Vision die for the third time.
Mhm.
But I didn't quite feel that way because I'm just sitting there thinking, like, just go see what wife... That's
Yeah.
isn't that your husband? This is a fake
Little-
Vision.
It's going to be a
That'd
little
be
touch and
weird.
go, considering to
Yeah.
this point their only encounter is White Vision trying to
Crush
I
that.
agree.
Yeah,
I
that
do
was
it-
fucked.
I agree, though. That also wasn't. That was like the program derived like Vision, and then being awoken by Hex Vision.
Mhm.
I think essentially, I think it was Matt Shackman was talking about it in an interview where it's very much Vision while also not being him. And what he
Mhm.
said was, as far as Wanda's concerned right now, that's not the father of her kids. It's not whatever.
Right.
But I think maybe, listen, we've done it before. Maybe we see them. It's kind of like a weird situation. We kind of have to watch them over time, kind of re-bridge together.
Yep.
My thing, no matter what, I think Vision has always been so underpowered in the MCU. And I
Oh my
think
God.
it's kind of tough when you have all these heroes. It's
Mhm.
kind of tough to make the robot be the guy that saves the day, I think. It's just
Yeah.
from a whatever. And so I think what would be a really good idea is we forget about White Vision. He disappears for a while. And whatever the next big doomsday threat is, he pulls up in a Captain Marvel Endgame kind of
That
fashion. I think that would be sweet.
would be sweet.
Now, I think
Yeah.
when we see him fighting Vision, he says, I'm just following my programming or something like
Yes,
that.
yes.
So when he brings back the memory, what was Vision's original programming from Age of Ultron? Practically to save the world,
Yep.
you know?
To protect the world.
So if he's following his programming,
Mhm.
flies out, he's developing himself and he's saving the world in whatever
Yeah.
capacity.
To protect the
But-
world and to wear sweaters.
But
There you go.
Ultron and Thanos also think they're doing the right thing. They develop all this knowledge and they
Yes,
realize
they do.
what we're
Oh,
all
that's why
realizing
Vision
that
is
humans
awesome.
are destroying the Earth.
But as Vision says, a thing isn't beautiful because it lasts. And that's really his, like, because Ultron obviously meant to put himself into Vision. And the whole idea is that he's just as much a synthezoid, but he just has, I think the Mind Stone is a big part of it, he just has that element of humanity
Yeah.
that, like, the
Yes.
typical
And we really
android
saw it in the
doesn't-
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Big
mean,
time.
Paul Bettany is so perfect for that.
Yeah.
He's got such a
Oh my God.
smooth and like, well, I don't even, just great voice for that. I thought a lot of tearjerkers. Like I said
Yeah,
before,
for
this
real.
scene took a lot of emotional turns
Oh,
that
I
I
was-
was not expecting.
I was
Yeah.
tearing up
Yeah.
real bad. Real bad.
And I know it's gotten so much talk about online, but what is love if not grief persevering? Or what is grief
Apparently
if not love
he
persevering?
rewrote it himself.
Yeah, he said it wasn't, the scene at the compound wasn't doing what he thought. And that's how I feel about Quicksilver. What is grief if not love persevering?
That was
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that's really a part of how incredible
Yeah.
the two of them did. Elizabeth Olsen and
Yes.
Paul Bettany. It was amazing. Like in a Marvel show, in this case, they make you cry or almost cry several times.
Yes.
How do we care about? Because I gotta be honest. Not that I didn't care, but when Thanos ripped the stone out of his head at the end of Infinity War, I wasn't happy. But there were so many other characters who I was so much more attached to that I was just kind of like, this felt inevitable. Even though I know there's another White Vision out there, watching him disintegrate and say so
Different.
long. Like I've just gotten such an attachment to both him and Wanda. That look, I always liked them; they were cool characters. But now being able to really flesh them out, I think it's just that's what Disney Plus and these shows are going to be great for.
I need a quick clarification question. And the question may sound stupid, but it's only because I want to ask another question now. So why does Vision need the Mind Stone? What does that do for him?
I mean, when Ultron's building it, it's just like a power source that is unmatched, basically, other than the other many Infinity Stones.
I'm going to be so honest. So much more would make sense if it was the Soul Stone and not the Mind Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just do think it's kind of like the idea that when they find the Mind Stone, Tony and Bruce are like, what does that look like it's doing to you? And they're both like, that thing is thinking. And it's just kind of like the Mind Stone is its own entity. It's like conscious, basically.
Yeah.
It's one of the most powerful things in the universe. And now we have a White Vision. We have a White Vision. And it's supposed to be like a 1-for-1 trade-off, whatever, with the actual Vision, but it doesn't have the Mind Stone. So how is it the same? How?
Well, that's kind of the thing. It's not. And that's why I think there's kind of the element of less of a personality, less of a humanity aspect without the stone, because the stone is what allowed Vision to continue to develop and like become his own person. I think the White Vision without the Mind Stone is much more of a synthetic
robotic
robot.
AI.
Maybe he doesn't even have the emotional capacity to love Wanda anymore.
Yeah, that's true too.
Maybe she's like, "I love you, Vision." He's like,
I'm following my programming.
he's just like a microwave, like blinking with like you haven't set the timer yet. He's just like
Well, that's also I also want to mention too. I said before how
I'm just here so I don't get
underused Vision has been, and I think his combat is so sick.
Oh, so
And
good.
So being able to not see one but see two Vision to fight each other and phasing through each other.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was so cool. Yeah.
So good. In the moment, I was like so satisfied. Now, like a week later,
I just want more.
I want to like. I would have loved to see him properly square off against Thanos.
Yeah.
That would have been sick. Thanos is trying to punch him,
Or
and he's just like standing there, like
that's
intangible,
so
like
When
you
he
can't
tries
touch
to
him.
take the stone, because he got stabbed by that blade in wherever him and Wanda are.
The
in
fucking
the beginning.
blade of plot,
Like,
the
it's
plot
like he
device
can't phase
blade.
anymore. But just think, at one point, White Vision tries to rip the stone out of his head, and Vision just phases.
That
right
bothered
through
me
him.
though. The children of Thanos were able to kick Vision's ass.
Yes,
So
yes.
They've been
And
doing
they
it dirty.
Yes!
They fuck Wanda up a little bit too, and it's Sam, Cap, and Nat, who I love all three of them, but they are nowhere. None of them are anywhere near Vision or Wanda who come and save
We
the
can't
day.
now. We have to let the punchy characters, have their moments so that they don't feel under. No, Fuck no. I'm gonna have to beat that out. All right. Like I want full-powered Wanda and full-powered Vision. Okay, that doesn't devalue Cap or Falcon or Natasha. Like
What
that's
they
the thing.
did devalues Vision.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's fans.
And the
That's
whole
what
time, Vision just kind of like limping around, being like, "Take the stone," and it's just
That's what I don't like.
It's a shame.
They
That's
use.
why I'm so glad we got more of it. Really.
And this is a similar problem. Like I have a problem similar to this with the Hulk, in that they just use the stronger characters or the characters that are supposed to be stronger to be like, look how strong blank character is. They're beating the. Look how strong Thanos is. He's beating the Hulk.
Yeah.
Look how strong Corvus Clave is. He stabbed Vision. Look how
But
strong
Tony
Thor
is. Everyone beats on the Hulk, and it pisses me
No
off
one
so
should
much.
be able to beat the shit out of the Hulk.
That's all he has going for him because they make him an idiot,
And
kind of an uncontrollable. Like he clearly has the worst power. He's the only person that we know doesn't want those power. And you still decide to do him dirty and make him the butt end of the joke.
Yes.
Where they all have to understand him, and they all have an understanding that they patronize him. I hate it.
I think one of the best lines that describes Hulk is when Natasha's talking to him in Age of Ultron, where she's saying like, look at this guy who runs away from a fight because he knows he'll win it. And I just thought that's like the perfect way to embody the Hulk. He's this fucking beast who can do whatever he wants. And I think that there's a kind of a similarity between him and Wanda, and I hope that they kind of tell Wanda's story better, where it's that they're so powerful, but they're hurting innocent people accidentally as their power. It's kind of a thing about control and losing control a lot of the time. And with Hulk, they never really climaxed that. It just kind of turned into him. Smart Hulk, Professor Hulk, is something people were waiting for forever, and it just happened off screen between Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a problem. And also, we don't really see him fight much in Endgame. He obviously has the snap, which is a great moment, but he's just kind of in the background of that whole battle.
So
He's the one who sends them back in time.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's
Time travel.
I see this as an absolute win.
Let's end on a little. So this was the WandaVision series recap. Let's end on a precap. All right. What are we expecting for Falcon and the Winter? For Mephisto and the Winter Mephisto. All right. What are we excited for? What do we think? Now, I said this yesterday. Okay. You can't really speculate on this the same way that we did about WandaVision. The only thing going into this I can hope for, and I will not be upset by any means if I don't get this. I'm just saying it would be cool if we get an old Cap cameo.
That would be awesome.
So this is Falcon and the Winter Soldier is like the two of my favorite characters. I'm very excited. I've been reading, theorizing. It's Marty time.
It's Marty time.
And
Pizza time.
A lot of theories and rumors and hints are pointing to that the first episode will open with the funeral of Steve Rogers, which would be a lot for me to take in.
Wow, that just gave me chills.
I literally got goosebumps from that. Wow.
But so I am so excited for the show. It's going to be fast, which is going to be a nice kind of refresher from WandaVision.
Only 6
Great
episodes
action.
this time.
They said it's going to be violent and relatively mature content,
Cool.
which I like.
Love that. Yeah.
And more than anything, same as Wanda and Vision, I think Sam and Bucky are great characters who are funny together and have a great chemistry.
Now we need to know more about.
We're just going to see more of them.
I love that instead of, because obviously both Sam and Bucky have had their runs as Captain America separately in the comics. And I love how instead of picking one to be Cap and saying screw you to the other one, we're getting this buddy cop thing where they both get to do it a little bit.
They're gonna. I want them to play off, in Civil War when they're always like, "Can you move your seat up?" No. They always have that great back and forth. I want them to play off that a lot. I want to, more than anything, I'm a big Bucky guy. I want to see more of him in his past.
Absolutely.
I want to go in his head and see he's been through as much as anybody in the MCU has. He feels like he's this guy he was a villain at one point. There's so much darkness in him. And on the opposite side of that, Sam is I would love to see his military background.
How he got the suit to begin with.
He talks about in Winter Soldier, his co-pilot, not pilot, but his flying buddy Riley got shot out of the sky. Maybe we get a flashback of that.
Yeah. It's another character. Bucky kind of got shafted in Endgame, if you think about it. He was just shooting a gun the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, he comes out of the portal next to Groot, and I was like, woo! And he's shooting the gun next to Rocket at one point.
It's not like you have the exact same power set as Cap.
And then he's got the scene.
What does he say? What do you want for that gun?
No, that's in Infinity War. That's one of my when he picks up Rocket in Infinity War.
That's
a cool scene.
Yeah, that's a great scene.
And then he's got the scene at the end where they give. I'll get that on. Here's the thing: now that he wants the gun too, and when Bucky gets snapped on Wakanda, the gun just falls to the ground. I hope Rocket picked that up.
Well, Rocket got that too.
No, Rocket.
No, he didn't.
Rocket was the only Guardian.
Rocket and Nebula.
Right.
Nebula.
Right.
Who cares?
Who cares? Do we know how long after Endgame, or what is our most recent property?
So,
Far From Home.
that's a good point.
Where in relation to Far From Home?
WandaVision takes place
Before Far From Home.
I think before
weeks after Endgame.
Yeah.
Far From Home is 8 months.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
So I would love to know why none of this was mentioned in Far From Home.
Yeah.
At all. Is it just does no one know?
And that's why I really thought Doctor Strange would be in it, is because of that Far From Home scene I mentioned where Peter says to Nick, hey, where's Doctor Strange? And he's like, busy, or whatever he says, indisposed. I don't remember what he says, but
that's a
he's
good
busy.
point. Yeah.
But maybe that's because, this happened, and maybe he wasn't actually talking about the events of WandaVision,
right.
but he's talking about the events of Multiverse of Madness. I mean, maybe Jake Gyllenhaal heard some rumors about this multiverse thing going on, and that's how he came up with the idea to lie about being from a different reality. Who knows?
I think that's it. I think we covered everything. Do we have any closing thoughts?
Oh,
Kevin Feige, you've done it again.
Done it again, you rat.
Hey, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
I wanted to say something funny or insightful.
Say something funny and
Save
insightful.
Quicksilver.
Justice for Quicksilver. Hashtag make a trend on Twitter.
Evan-
All 40 of you make
Evan,
a
if
trend.
you're watching this, I love you.
Who do you think you are? I am.
That's right, I get it.
All right, you guys. That has been our WandaVision series recap. I'm going to be going right back in. Like I said last episode, I'm going to have my hands full for the next year doing Marvel stuff. So tune in next week for the first Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode review.
Yeah.
Always remember, time is your most valuable resource, and we're happy that you chose to share some of it with us today. I'll see you guys next week.